Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dan Ziegler, the voice of WBU Athletics. We're here in our pregame show prior to today's football game, and it is a home opener for the 2024 season for the Pioneers. And I have with me, as usual, Coach Marcos Hinojos, the head football coach here. And we're going to be talking a little football in the next 10 or 15 minutes to prepare you for today's game. Coach, first of all, we've opened the season with 3 road games, kind of a scheduling anomaly for us here at Wayland. We've opened with 3 road games. 2 of those were conference games. 1 was a non-conference game, and we finished that little stretch 1 and 2. And then had a bye week. So a bye week going into our home opener. I want to address a couple of things. First of all, we lost to Oklahoma Panhandle State by 14 points, 31-13. And then we won against, what was the school?
North American University.
North American University. So we won big, 41-6 over North American in Houston. And then we moved up in weight class to play Sul Ross, a NCAA D2 school. Yeah. We punched to our weight in that game, trailed 31-7 into the second quarter. And a lot of teams would have said, well, this has been good, but we'll learn from this experience. But Pioneers really showed out in the late first half and the second half and wound up tying the game at 45 and going into overtime, where we lost by 1 point in overtime. So I thought overall an outstanding performance by the whole team to play Sul Ross to a 1-point game in overtime.
Yeah, I would agree to a certain extent. Simply to say that the team that showed up in the first half was not the team that showed up in the second half, and we can be upset about the fact that they didn't show up to play that first half, and so. But they did do well. They went on a 27-0 run. Yeah. And had an opportunity to win it outright. I can think about 7 plays where we had the opportunity to win it outright before the overtime, and then had that field goal block that prevented us from going into a double overtime. So right. Excited that it took a legitimate Division II team 5 quarters to beat us. When you consider that we scored 51 points and Eastern New Mexico and WT did not do that, we're not able to do that to that Sul Ross team, also gives me a little bit of pride in what we went there to do.
Absolutely. Anything else?
Well, I was going to take you back to the scheduling, back-to-back road trips. So this is the second year of this schedule, meaning every 2 years the conference sets a schedule. So if I take you back 2 years before that, we're in between head coaches, and that schedule gets set before I even get hired.
Right.
So I would have never selected 3 back-to-back road games, not to mention opening up with a conference football game, not what a head football coach would do.
Right.
But
right.
We had no choice in the matter. It's just the way the exiting head coach and new head coach, that timing of it, that's how that worked out.
Yeah, I see.
Anyways, I think our kids have handled it well. We made it to the bye week with no injuries, and we're rested up and really excited to be at home finally.
Good. So the bye week was helpful.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, bye weeks are always helpful.
Yes, sir.
To try to make sure everybody's healthy and can push through for the last 7 games that we've got left. Let's talk about some individual performances from the Sul Ross game, since it's the most recent game that we have played. What a balanced attack, 219 yards rushing, 220 yards passing. So showed great balance.
Yeah. Well, all of the changes that we have made predominantly have been on the offensive side, and that balance is something that we have been after for quite some time. Still some of the same players running the offense, but in the coaching changes that we have made, those results are a product of their hard work.
I see. Okay. Anything changed in your offensive philosophy?
Yes.
Or defensive philosophy? Let's talk about each of those.
Offensive philosophy. We've got to run the football. We've got to establish a run game. In the past, we've been probably at the bottom regarding rush in the conference, and right now we're not. And so, yes, a definite change in philosophy.
So we were primarily an RPO offense. So what philosophy change has happened there?
What I mean is the emphasis in the run game. Prior to me coming to Wayland as the head coach, we were pass first. In the 2 years that I've been here, we've been moving towards a run first offense.
Okay.
And so the balance that you see is an emphasis on run blocking and different types of schemes to run the football, as opposed to one or two schemes in a pass-heavy offense.
Right. Okay. How about on the defensive side of the ball?
No,
Pretty same defense.
yeah, we run the same defense. It's what I know. It's what the kids are recruited to play. You start to change a defense, and then you have to recruit different players, and it takes too long to develop that.
Sure. Playing a 4-3.
We're a 4-2-5.
4-2-5.
And to be honest with you, that depends on the formation. So if somebody comes in with a double tight fullback, then we're more of a 4-3, and we have that one kid that can be that type of linebacker that transition us from a 4-2-5 to a 4-3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed to work well against Sul Ross, for sure.
Did some good things.
And against North American, but
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's two games there where we scored 92 points total. So that's outstanding.
And those things work together. If your defense stops them, you give your offense more of an opportunity to run their schemes. And vice versa.
That is evidenced by the time of possession. We held the ball for 33 minutes. Sul Ross had it for 25 and a half minutes. And a lot of that came in the fourth quarter, where we held it 10 minutes and 33 seconds of the third quarter. They only had it for 4.5 minutes, fourth quarter. They only had it for 4.5 minutes in the fourth quarter. So,
yeah, when you work on changing cultures, when you work on turning a program around, there is one element that is very, very difficult to reach, and that is the belief that you can win, the belief that you can execute and perform to your levels. And what you're referring to is the point in the ball game where our kids finally realized we are this good. We can do this. We can change what's been happening. And so that was what I'm most happy about.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Another thing I had circled, Braden Welch averaged 42 yards a punt, which is, I mean, it's not crazy good, but it's certainly presentable. Their punter averaged 36 and a half.
Yeah, Braden changes the field position.
He does.
And,
We noticed that last year. He'd swapped the field.
Yeah, and he's only gotten better.
Yeah, good. Excellent, excellent. Leo Marini, a 56-yard field goal in the Sul Ross game. Outstanding.
Yeah, he's kicked a 55-yarder last year before against the win in hostile territory against Texas Wesleyan, and so he was injured early in the season last year, and so I think where he's at now is a continuation, and he knows where the record for Wayland Baptist is, and we work at it, and that's what he's after. I mean,
Good.
what I do want to mention about Leo is that he is a former soccer player for Wayland.
Right.
And what I like about Wayland is, one of the things that I like about Wayland is the ability for kids to be able to do that from one sport to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that impressed me about the Sul-Ross game was when we got in the red zone, we scored touchdowns.
Yes,
We were in the red zone 5 times and scored 5 touchdowns, as opposed to Sul-Ross, who, I mean, they did pretty well. They were 80%. They were in the red zone 5 times and scored 3 touchdowns and a field goal.
Well, the change that we were referring to earlier, that's 100% of a positive or a result of the changes that we have made. We've struggled in the red zone in years past, and these guys, to me, it's an expression of what they say constantly. I'm tired of 2-8, and their actions on Saturday are very meaningful now because of the things that they do in the red zone.
Great. One thing I saw that concerned me a little bit, on kickoffs, Marini only had 1 touchback in all of his kickoffs. Is that something that I don't want to say stresses you, but is maybe a point of focus for him?
Yeah, I mean, his style of kicking is 2-step and kick the football. So when you consider that style and where the ball is being kicked to, in comparison to somebody who's back at 5, 6, 7 yards and have a run and start at it, it's highly comparable in my opinion.
Okay.
But yeah, you mentioned special teams. Special teams is an area where we failed to do what we were supposed to in that ball game, and that was an area where kept the game much closer than it had to be, in my opinion.
One bright spot in special teams is you had a 33-yard kickoff return by Daquan Green,
Yes, sir.
which obviously puts you in good field position.
Yeah.
So that's a bright spot in the kicking game. Kiamadre Horace, 14 rushes for 105 yards, averaged 7.5 yards a carry. That's outstanding. And Josiah Barron, 7 receptions for 120 yards. So you've got a rusher and a receiver, both with over 100 yards. That speaks to that balance we were talking about.
Correct, yeah. But it also speaks to the offensive line who do their job efficiently, both in the passing game and the running game. And Comadre has been, they call him Red. Red has been a force that's been waiting to explode, and I think he's going to have a heck of a year. I really do.
Donovan Henry, 10 solo tackles. No assists, all solo. That's twice as many as the guy in second place.
On both sides of the field.
Yeah.
And the biggest one that he had was at the 1 yard line where he meets their running back and hits him hard enough that the ball comes out of his hands, and we recover it and prevent them from scoring in that series. And our offense comes in and takes the ball the length of the field and scores. I believe that was the series where we tied it up.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's throw some roses at Comadre Horace. He was named the NCCAA Football Offensive Player of the Week for that week, the Sul-Ross week.
Very well deserved. Had a great game.
He did. He had a great game. And on the other side, Donovan Henry was named the NCCAA Football Defensive Player of the Week.
Pretty exciting for me to begin to see this early on, guys being recognized, where Leo Marini gets recognized by the SAC conference the week before that, and then these two guys by the NCCAA. I'm pretty excited about that. It's been a while since we've gotten those, and I think it speaks to the hard work that these guys have put in up to now.
Great. Let's talk about Louisiana Christian. What do you know about them? Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. They've got a very good quarterback, a returning quarterback.
Well, actually, Sal Palermo graduated. He's no
okay.
longer
I
there.
thought I
he
recognized his name.
He was the conference most valuable player last season. The kid that plays for them now is River Thompson, and he was his backup last year. So what I know about Louisiana Christian is that they are the defending conference champion, and for a reason. They're highly aggressive and athletic on the defensive side. They're going to be in your face in press coverage the entire ball game, regardless of who it is that they're playing. The numbers that I'll share with you today are indicative of the competition that they have played up to this point. So I would say that it's relative. They have played Houston Christian University, which is an FCS school, and they have played St. Thomas, who's a perennial NAIA playoff team, and so we're not taking these guys lightly. We got a great deal of respect for that program. They do have a new head coach, and I believe in their offensive schemes, they're searching for what they can do in relation to what his background brings. But their total offense is number 47 in NAI with 1,103 total yards. Their passing yardage is number 61 in the NAIA, and if I take you to just their conference or our conference, River Thompson, the quarterback, is the fourth best quarterback. I will say that Davian Guajardo is the number 5.
Yep.
Their running backs are both tied at number 7 in our conference, while our running backs, Damian Ford is number 9 and Comadre coming up at 11. So relative to who we have played and who they have played, we are very, very similar offensive production and defensive production. So I think it's going to be a battle. It's going to come down to the most disciplined team and the team that wants it the most, that makes the least amount of mistakes.
I noticed that their 2 running backs both average 74 yards a game. So they've got, are they running a tandem or are they alternating?
They alternate.
Okay. So that's a pretty balanced rushing attack between those 2 rushers. You're getting 150 yards a game out of your tailback position.
Yeah, so it's going to be like playing each other, to be honest with you. The difference is that they are a different secondary scheme, but it's really the same defense as we run, and it's a very similar offense that we run.
Okay.
So
we'll talk about defense for Louisiana Christian.
Yeah, so what I'll tell you is that they're very fast and they're very good, and they're highly aggressive at the line of scrimmage, and so our job offensively is to utilize the strength of our offensive line experience and the success that we've had with our running backs, and to be able to have our top receivers, Josiah Barron, Maddox Blasik, Marquez Hall, to catch the football in a hostile secondary environment. They're going to be in their face. They're going to be probably holding them, probably interference. Some of it might be called, some of it might not be called, but we've got to come up with the football, move the chains.
Good.
Get in the end zone.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'd like to see another 40 or 50 points out of the Pioneers.
I'd like to see a W at home.
Yeah.
Even if it's 3-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, there's just a lot of kids out there that are working their tail off and attempting to perform at a high level. But yeah, this is going to be a great ball game for them.
We have returners in our secondary, defensive secondary.
We We have two corners that are new. One's a freshman out of Wichita Falls, Ryder, Tyrone Morgan, and the other one is Shamarian Bush out of Georgia. And the two safeties are returners, Harper Terry and Donovan Henry.
Yeah, okay. That's excellent. Well, Coach, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you being able to work this into your schedule so that we can put this program on and help get the news of Wayland football out there.
Well, I appreciate you highlighting our kids. Our kids are pretty special to me.
Yeah, they are. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our interview with Coach. And if you haven't got tickets for Saturday's game, be sure and get there and see this Wayland football team, this 2024 edition of Wayland football, live and in person on Saturday. I'm Dan Ziegler, the voice of WBU Athletics.